So one of the questions or challenges that I end up fielding frequently from entrepreneurs and business owners is, how do you build a consulting business or agency or practice when you are working in an environment where, quite frankly, the entrepreneurs and business owners haven't been conditioned to compensate for knowledge and information. Or let's just be real. I mean, there are some environments that you will end up doing business in where the incomes of the entrepreneurs or the incomes of the professionals are depressed. And how do you build a substantive practice or business in an environment like that? And look, and initially when you're first starting out, particularly if you haven't been out here for a while, if you don't have a client base, I mean, you're starting from scratch, right? And you want to differentiate yourself from the individuals who just read a book and watched a YouTube video and now they're entrepreneuring. Now they're consulting, right? The bottom line is, initially you have to give a lot away for free. I don't have any other way to say it. I don't want to be coquettish about it, but you're going to have to give some things away for free. You're going to have to prove your value. You're going to have to beta test your skill set in the marketplace, right? And make yourself so invaluable that individuals realize that they're taking a loss without you, right? That if you were to disappear, that they would feel it in their bottom line, in their back pockets. And that's just part of the deal. Now, of course, once you build up a client base, once you build up a list of testimonials, once you have individuals who will vouch for your value proposition and the contribution you're making to the bottom line of other companies, what you can do at that point is begin to assess a certain rate, right? You can beta test market rates. You can post videos on Facebook. You can post videos on Instagram. Of course, where I live, LinkedIn, that's where I do most of my business, because at the end of the day, if you're working with business owners, just a hint and a clue, that if you're working with business owners, ultimately you want to be posting content and you want to show up where they're at. Well, the one thing we know about LinkedIn is that people aren't going there for entertainment. At least not yet. The majority of people who frequent LinkedIn, they're frequent LinkedIn because they're looking to buy something. What do I mean by that? They're looking for talent to hire. They are the talent looking to be hired, or they're looking for information, tools, and resources to help them level up personally, professionally, or otherwise. And that's the bottom line, right? So that's why I'm so bullish on LinkedIn. I'll leave it at that. So you are going to have to beta test yourself, right? You're going to have to do a little bit of research. You're going to have to shop your competition, and you're going to have to lean in, right? It's not enough for people to say, that's great, that's fantastic, that's wonderful, like, I really love what you do, you're so incredible. So you have to lean in and say, if I'm so incredible, how about you cut me that $250 an hour? I'm just being real. That's how you go about doing it. Until, once again, you build up the cachet, until you build up the reputation, until you build up the gravitas, if you will, to go in and ask for larger dollar amounts. You're going to have to do seminars. You're going to have to do workshops where, once again, you're beta testing your content. People are accessing what it is you do on the low, so you can find out exactly what individuals' needs are and curate your content, curate your value prop, curate your services in relationship to the things that people are willing to pay the most money for. I mean, that's just the bottom line. And then when you get to that point, now you can begin to focus on your target market, your buyer persona, your ideal client, right? There's a million different acronyms and synonyms for this stuff. But the bottom line is you do have to reach a point where you know who your ideal client is, right? Assuming you've beta tested your services, and assuming that your value proposition is real, assuming that you are much more than the individual who watched a couple of YouTube videos, read a book, and now you're an entrepreneur, right? You really know what you're talking about. In other words, you're not one of those folk. You have to identify your target market, right? And this is another issue that I end up fielding frequently with business owners who are in service industries, or entrepreneurs who are in service industries, and that's not knowing who their target market is. So let me just give it to you really brief, right? Your ideal client or your target market are the individuals who are looking for what you offer. They're looking for what you offer. You don't have to convince them. You don't have to educate them. You don't have to cajole them. They know that whatever it is that you're offering is of value, and they've been checking for it, looking for it. And if they don't realize they need it, once they see it, they realize they need it. That's number one. Number two, your target market or your ideal buyer persona is the person that can afford it. It's really that simple. So you can't get upset if you're sitting down in front of individuals or you're spending an inordinate amount of time trying to convince, cajole individuals into buying something. You can't be upset with the market. It's you. It's your fault. You're not spending enough time beta testing. You're not spending enough time doing what you can do to identify those individuals who you don't have to cajole or convince, assuming, once again, you really do have a value prop. And then last but not least, if you are having difficulty finding individuals who are willing to pay for your services, then that means you need to level up in terms of the individuals whom you are getting in front of. Solve bigger problems. Solve the problems of individuals who have disposable income. It's really that simple. And of course, it's easy to say, right? Being in business and working within a B2B environment for almost 2 decades, almost 20 years. But you know what? That is the bottom line, right? The other piece of the puzzle is being patient. The other piece of the puzzle is being willing to pay the price. The other piece of the puzzle is being willing to show up and understand that in business, sometimes you're just going to be, you're not going to be compensated for everything you do in the beginning. So you can reach a point where you're being compensated for things you no longer have to do, right? And so that's the game. That's the approach. That is how you build in a depressed environment. And that's just part of the deal. There are no overnight successes. The common denominator of success is always going to be hard work. And you can't assume that anyone owes you anything. You have to go out and prove that your value prop is worth their hard-earned currency day in and day out. With that being said, hey, everyone have a good night. Peace.